Have you ever stood before a horse and felt something stir deep within you? Something ancient, primal, beyond words? Carl Jung would tell you that this wasn't random attraction. It was recognition. Your unconscious recognizing itself in another form. Throughout human history, across every culture, the horse has been more than an animal. It has been a symbol, a mirror, an archetype living in the collective unconscious of humanity. Jung understood that certain images speak directly to our souls, bypassing our logical minds and touching something deeper, something eternal. The horse is one of the most powerful of these archetypal symbols. It represents life force, instinct, power, freedom, and the raw energy that drives us forward even when our conscious mind hesitates. Today, I'm going to show you 3 horses. Not just any horses. 3 archetypal horses. Each carry within it a different aspect of the human psyche, a different way of moving through this world. Before you choose, I want you to understand something crucial. This isn't about which horse you think is most beautiful, or which one you prefer to own. This is about which horse calls to something in your unconscious. Which one makes you feel something you can't quite name. Which one, when you see it, create a resonance in your chest, a knowing that this, somehow, is connected to who you are at your deepest level. Carl Jung spent his life studying these unconscious patterns. He discovered that we are all drawn to certain symbols because they reflect aspects of ourselves we may not fully understand or acknowledge. The horse you choose today will reveal something about your soul's journey, about the archetypal energy that's been guiding you. Perhaps without your knowledge, it will show you not just who you are, but who you've always been, beneath all the layers of conditioning and expectation. So I invite you now to quiet your analytical mind. Don't overthink this. Don't try to figure out what each horse means before you choose. Simply look at these 3 horses. Feel which one stirs something inside you, which one calls to you, which one feels like home, even if you can't explain why. That instinctive pull, that immediate recognition, that's your unconscious speaking. And your unconscious always knows the truth. Are you ready? Take a deep breath, center yourself, and let's discover which horse has been calling your name. The wild horse, the untamed spirit. The first horse stands alone on an open plain, mane flowing in the wind, eyes fierce with independence that cannot be broken. This is a wild horse, the Mustang, the creature that has never known a saddle and never will. If your eyes were drawn to this horse, if something in you recognized itself in its untamed spirit, then Carl Jung would say you are living with what he called the rebel archetype, the one who refuses to be domesticated by society's expectations. Let me tell you who you really are. You are someone who has always felt the constraints of civilization pressing against your spirit, like a cage that's too small. From early childhood, you probably resisted authority not because you were difficult, but because something in you knew that obedience meant death, the death of your authentic self. You've been called stubborn, rebellious, difficult, wild, and every time someone tried to tame you, to make you fit, to smooth your rough edges, you felt something inside you recoil. The wild horse represents the untamed life force within you, the part of yourself that refuses to be controlled, predicted, or contained. Jung would recognize this as a powerful connection to what he called the shadow, not the dark evil shadow we fear, but the authentic, instinctual, untamed aspect of ourselves that society has taught us to suppress. Choosing this horse means you've maintained contact with that raw energy even when the world demanded you civilize it. Here's what makes you different from others. You cannot pretend. You cannot perform authenticity. You cannot wear a mask for long without feeling like you're suffocating. Other people can adapt, can play social games, can be whoever the situation demands. But you can only be yourself. Wildly, unapologetically yourself. And this has cost you, hasn't it? Relationships that demanded you be smaller. Jobs that required you to fit in. Situations where your authenticity was too much, too intense, too real. But here's what Jung understood that others miss. This wildness isn't a flaw. It's your medicine. It's your gift in a world of domesticated souls, living scripted lives, performing predetermined roles. You are the reminder that another way exists. You are living proof that the human spirit cannot be fully tamed, that something wild and true lives in all of us, even if most people have buried it so deep they've forgotten it's there. The wild horse lives by instinct, by the ancient wisdom encoded in its body, moving across a land with a freedom that civilized creatures can only dream about. And you live the same way. You trust your instincts even when they defy logic. You make decisions based on what feels true, rather than what makes sense. You choose paths others can't understand because you're following an internal compass that points toward authenticity rather than safety. But let's talk about the shadow side of the wild horse, because Jung knew that every archetype carries both light and darkness. The same energy that makes you authentic and free can also make you destructive and isolated. Your refusal to be tamed can become an inability to commit, to build, to stay. Your wild spirit can turn into restlessness, always running, always seeking, never finding because you're too afraid that staying still means being caught. You may have a pattern in your life of getting close to something good, something stable, something that could actually nurture you, and then at the last moment, you bolt. You destroy it before it can domesticate you. You leave before you can be left. You break things before they can break you. This isn't strength. This is fear. Fear that if you let yourself be seen, be known, be vulnerable, you'll lose the wildness that makes you who you are. Jung would say you're confusing freedom with isolation, authenticity with rejection of all structure. The truly wild horse isn't running from something. It's running toward something, toward open spaces, toward the herd it chooses, toward the life it wants to live. But if you're just running away, if your wildness is really just avoidance of intimacy, of commitment, of being known, then you're not wild. You're just scared. Here's what choosing this horse reveals about your current life. You're in a phase where you're being called to reclaim your authenticity, to stop performing, to stop adapting, to stop making yourself smaller for others' comfort. Maybe you spent years trying to fit in, trying to be acceptable, try to be who they wanted you to be. And now something inside you is screaming, no more. That's the wild horse waking up. That's your untamed spirit refusing to stay buried. Or perhaps you're already wild, already free, and now you're facing a different challenge. How to be wild and still connected. How to be authentic and still in relationship. How to maintain your freedom while building something that lasts. The wild horse doesn't have to live alone. Wild horses run in herds. They have bonds, connections, family, but they choose those bonds. They're not forced into them. Your path forward, if this is your horse, is learning the difference between wildness and recklessness, between authenticity and isolation, between freedom and fear. You need to ask yourself, am I running toward the life I want? Or am I running away from intimacy, from vulnerability, from being fully known? Because true wildness isn't about being alone. It's about being free enough to choose connection without losing yourself. Jung believed that the rebel archetype eventually must evolve into what he called the sage, the one who has been wild, who has rejected false structures, but who then creates their own authentic structure, who chooses what to commit to rather than rejecting all commitment, who learns that freedom includes a freedom to stay, to build, to root, when you found something worth rooting for. The wild horse in you is a gift. Your refusal to be domesticated, your commitment to authenticity, your willingness to live on your own terms. These are rare and precious qualities. But don't let your wildness become your prison. Don't let your fear of being tamed prevent you from ever being touched. The most powerful version of the wild horse is the one who knows when to run free and when to stand still, when to resist and when to surrender, when to bolt and when to stay. So if this horse called to you, honor the wildness in your spirit. But ask yourself, what am I really running from? And what am I running toward? Because the wild horse knows something the caged animal never learns. Freedom isn't about having no ties. Freedom is about choosing your ties, choosing who gets to touch you, choosing what's worth staying for. That's the wisdom your wild horse is teaching you. The war horse, the battle-tested warrior. The second horse stands with scars across its body, muscles hardened by conflict, eyes that have seen things that cannot be unseen. This is the war horse, the destrier, the animal bred not for beauty but for survival, for fighting, for carrying warriors through hell and bringing them home. If this horse called to you, if something in you recognized itself in its battle-worn strength, then Carl Jung would say you carry the warrior archetype, and you have been shaped by struggle in ways others cannot understand. Let me tell you who you really are. You are someone who has been through fire, not metaphorical fire, real battles, real wounds. Your life has not been easy. It has been a series of challenges, obstacles, betrayals, losses, and moments where you had to choose between breaking and becoming stronger. And you chose stronger every single time. Not because you wanted to, because you had to, because survival demanded it. The war horse doesn't become a war horse by choice. It's forged through training so harsh that weaker animals don't survive it, through battles that test every limit, through experiences that would break a gentler spirit. And you've been forged the same way. Maybe it was childhood trauma. Maybe it was loss that came too early. Maybe it was betrayal that shattered your trust. Maybe it was simply being born into circumstances that demanded you fight for everything you have. Jung understood that some souls are marked by what he called the hero's journey, the descent into darkness, the confrontation with the dragon, the emergence transformed. Choosing the war horse means you've taken that journey. You've been to the underworld and returned. And like all warriors who return from war, you're forever changed. You can never be innocent again. You can never not know what you know. You carry the weight of experience that others your age don't have. Here's what makes you different. You have a strength that wasn't given to you. You earned it. Every scar, physical or psychological, represents a moment you survived. Every wound tells a story of a battle you fought. And when others complain about small difficulties, when they break under pressures that seem minor to you, part of you feels both contempt and loneliness. Contempt because you know what real struggle is. Loneliness because you wish someone understood what you've been through. The war horse stands alert even in times of peace because it knows that peace is temporary. Safety is an illusion. The next battle could come at any moment, and you live the same way. You're always scanning for threats, always preparing for the worst, always keeping your guard up. Because relaxing, trusting, letting your defenses down, that's when you get hurt. That's when the attack comes. So you stay vigilant. You stay ready. You stay in warrior mode even when the war is over. But let's talk about what this hypervigilance is costing you. Jung would say you're stuck in the warrior phase of development. The battle has ended, but you're still fighting. The war is over, but you're still in combat mode. And this is destroying your ability to experience peace, joy, connection, love. Because the warrior's mindset sees everything as a potential threat. Every relationship as a potential betrayal. Every vulnerability as a potential wound. Every moment of softness as a moment of weakness. You may have noticed that you struggle with intimacy, not because you don't want it, but because intimacy requires dropping your armor, requires letting someone see you without your defenses, requires trust. And trust is what your experiences have taught you is dangerous. So you keep people at arm's length. You stay strong, stay self-sufficient, stay in control. And you're lonely in a way that has nothing to do with being alone. You're lonely because no one sees the real you, the exhausted warrior beneath the armor. Here's the shadow side of the war horse that Jung would want you to understand. The same strength that got you through battle can keep you trapped in battle. You become so identified with being the warrior, with being strong, with never breaking, that you don't know how to be anything else. You don't know how to rest, how to receive, how to let others carry you for once. You've been carrying everyone else for so long that you've forgotten it's okay to be carried sometimes. And there's another shadow here. The war horse, constantly in battle mode, can become the one who creates battles. Conflict becomes familiar. Struggle becomes comfortable. Peace becomes boring, even threatening. So unconsciously, you might sabotage peaceful moments, might create drama, might pick fights. Not because you want chaos, but because chaos is what you know. It's where you feel competent. Struggle is your comfort zone, and that's tragic. Choosing this horse reveals something about your current life situation. You're exhausted, aren't you? Tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Battle weary. You've been strong for so long that you don't remember what it feels like not to be carrying weight. Everyone sees you as a strong one, the rock, the one who handles everything. But inside, you're wondering when you get to rest, when you get to be soft, when you get to not be the warrior. Or perhaps you're in a new battle now, a different kind of war. Maybe you're fighting for your own healing, fighting to break cycles, fighting to build instead of just defend. And you're discovering that this fight, the fight to grow, to change, to open, is harder than any external battle you've ever faced. Because the enemy now isn't out there. It's inside you. It's your own resistance to vulnerability, to trust, to letting your guard down. Your path forward, if this is your horse, is learning when to take off the armor. Jung spoke about integrating the warrior with what he called the lover archetype, the part of you that can be soft, vulnerable, open. You need to understand that you can be strong and soft, battle-tested and gentle, warrior and lover. These aren't contradictions. They're wholeness. You need to learn that peace isn't weakness. That rest isn't giving up. That letting someone help you isn't failure. The warrior who never rests breaks. The warrior who never trusts dies alone. The warrior who never lets anyone see their wounds never heals. You've proven your strength 1,000 times over. Now the challenge is proving your courage in a different way. The courage to be vulnerable, to be seen, to let your guard down with someone who's earned it. Jung believed that the warrior archetype eventually evolves into what he called the king or queen archetype, the one who has fought their battles, earned their scars, and now rules from a place of earned wisdom. But you can't rule from the battlefield. You have to leave the war behind. You have to learn to use your strength not to fight, but to protect what matters, not to defend against attacks, but to create safety for others. The war horse in you is magnificent. Your strength, your resilience, your refusal to break no matter what life throws at you. These are extraordinary qualities. But strength without softness becomes rigidity. Protection without trust becomes isolation. Survival without living becomes merely existing. You survived. Now the question is, can you learn to live? So if this horse called to you, honor the warrior within you. Honor every battle you fought, every wound you survived, every moment you chose strength over surrender. But then ask yourself, what am I still fighting? Is the battle real, or am I fighting ghosts? Am I protecting myself or imprisoning myself? Because the war horse's greatest moment isn't when it charges into battle. It's when it finally comes home, takes off its armor, and learns to rest. That's your next battlefield, the fight to allow yourself peace. The white horse, the noble steed. The third horse stands like a vision from another realm, coat pure as snow, mane flowing like water, eyes clear and luminous as if they see beyond this world into something eternal. This is the white horse of legend and myth, the steed of heroes and gods, the animal that appears in dreams as a messenger from the unconscious. If this horse called to you, if you felt drawn to its otherworldly presence, then Carl Jung would say you carry what he called a seeker archetype, the soul on a quest for meaning that transcends ordinary life. Let me tell you who you truly are. You have always known, somewhere deep inside, that this visible world is not all there is, that beneath the surface of ordinary life, something sacred, something true, something eternal is waiting to be discovered. You are someone who cannot be satisfied with the material alone, who needs meaning the way others need air, who asks questions that have no easy answers. Why are we here? What is the purpose of suffering? What happens after death? What is the nature of truth? The white horse across cultures and throughout history has symbolized purity, transcendence, spiritual seeking. In Celtic mythology, it carried souls between worlds. In Christianity, it appears in apocalyptic visions as the steed of divine messengers. In alchemy, the white horse represented the purified spirit ascending toward wholeness. Choosing this horse reveals that you are on what Jung called the individuation journey, the path toward becoming whole, toward integrating all aspects of yourself, toward touching the divine within. Here's what makes you fundamentally different from most people. You cannot live on the surface. Small talk feels like torture. Meaningless activities feel like death. You need depth, significance, purpose in everything you do. This makes you seem intense to others, too serious, unable to just relax and have fun. But you can't help it. It's not that you don't want to enjoy simple pleasures. It's that simple pleasures alone aren't enough. Your soul needs meaning the way your body needs food. You're probably someone who's been called old soul since childhood, who felt like you didn't quite belong in this world, who looked around at others living their lives and wondered why they didn't seem to question anything, why they didn't seem bothered by the mystery of existence. You felt alone not because you were physically isolated, but because you couldn't find others who were asking the same questions, who were seeking the same truths, who felt the same ache for something beyond. The white horse represents purity, but not the naive innocence of someone who hasn't experienced darkness. This is purified spirit, the soul that has been through shadow and emerged cleansed. Jung would say choosing this horse means you've done or are doing deep inner work. You're not running from your darkness. You're integrating it. You're not denying your wounds. You're transforming them. You're seeking not to be perfect, but to be whole. But let's talk about the shadow of the white horse, because even the seeker has shadows they must face. The quest for meaning can become an escape from living. The search for truth can become a way to avoid human messiness. The pursuit of spiritual purity can become a rejection of the earthy, the physical, the embodied life. You may have a tendency to live in your head, in concepts, in ideals, while neglecting your actual body, your actual relationships, your actual life happening right now. Jung warned about what he called spiritual inflation, the belief that because you're on a spiritual path, you're somehow above the ordinary struggles of human life. The white horse can carry you so high that you lose touch with the ground. You can become so focused on transcendence that you forget incarnation, so committed to the eternal that you miss the present moment, so devoted to finding meaning that you forget to simply live. You may also struggle with perfectionism. The white horse is associated with purity, and you might have internalized this as a demand to be pure, to be good, to be spiritually advanced. So you judge yourself harshly when you're petty, jealous, angry, sexual, human. You think because you're seeking enlightenment, you shouldn't have dark thoughts. But Jung taught that the goal isn't purity. It's wholeness. And wholeness includes a shadow, includes a darkness, includes all the messy human parts you've been trying to transcend. Here's another shadow. The seeker can become perpetually seeking, never finding, because finding would mean the search is over. And you built your identity around seeking, around questioning, around not knowing. So unconsciously, you sabotage your own discoveries. Every time you get close to an answer, you create a new question. Every time you find something that works, you decide it's not quite right. You're addicted to the journey, but terrified of the destination. Choosing this horse reveals something about where you are in your life right now. You're in a period of deep seeking. Maybe you're coming out of a dark period and searching for meaning in what you experienced. Maybe you're at a crossroads and trying to understand which path aligns with your soul's purpose. Maybe you've achieved everything the world told you to achieve and discovered it's empty, and now you're searching for what actually matters. Or perhaps you're feeling the call to go deeper, to move beyond surface spirituality into real transformation, beyond reading about enlightenment into actually doing the work, beyond talking about depth into actually diving into your own unconscious and facing what you find there. The white horse is calling you to be brave enough to seek truth even when truth is uncomfortable. Your path forward, if this is your horse, is learning to balance seeking with living. Jung spoke about the importance of bringing the spiritual down into material, of incarnating the eternal in the everyday. You need to learn that the sacred isn't somewhere else. It's here, in this moment, in this body, in this ordinary life. The white horse can carry you to mystical heights, but it also needs to bring you back down to earth. You need to integrate what Jung called the sage with the fool, the seeker with the one who can laugh at the absurdity of existence. You need to be able to ask profound questions and also enjoy a simple meal, to contemplate the nature of consciousness and also play with a child, to seek enlightenment and also dance, make love, get your hands dirty, be fully human. Jung believed that the individuation journey doesn't end with transcendence. It ends with wholeness, with bringing together all the opposites within you, spirit and body, sacred and profane, light and shadow, eternal and temporal. The white horse you've chosen isn't calling you to escape this world. It's calling you to bring heaven to earth, to embody your spiritual insights in how you actually live. Here's what many seekers miss. The goal isn't to become pure spirit. We're already spirit. The goal is to be spirit fully embodied, fully human, fully alive. The white horse's highest purpose isn't to carry you away from life. It's to carry you more deeply into life. To live so consciously, so presently, so fully that every moment becomes sacred. That's what you're truly seeking. The white horse in you is a profound gift. Your commitment to truth, your refusal to accept easy answers, your willingness to question everything, your hunger for meaning. These are the qualities that have driven every mystic, every philosopher, every visionary throughout history. But don't let seeking become avoiding. Don't let questioning become a defense against answering. Don't let the quest for meaning prevent you from finding meaning right here, right now, in this imperfect, messy, beautiful human life. So if this horse called to you, honor the seeker within you. Honor your questions, your longings, your refusal to settle for less than truth. But then ask yourself, what am I seeking? And am I willing to find it? Because sometimes what we're seeking is seeking us. Sometimes the answer we need is not out there, but in here. Sometimes the white horse isn't meant to carry us away. It's meant to carry us home. Home to ourselves. Home to this moment. Home to the sacred that's been here all along, waiting for us to see it. Now you've chosen your horse. You've heard what it reveals about your soul's journey, about the archetypal energy moving through your life. But here's what Carl Jung wants you to understand. These aren't separate categories. You're not just one horse. You contain all three. The wild horse, the war horse, the white horse. They all live within you. The one you chose simply shows which energy is dominant right now, which archetype is calling for your attention, which aspect of yourself needs to be honored and integrated. Jung's entire life work was about what he called individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating all the different parts of ourselves. The person who can be wild and disciplined, free and committed, strong and vulnerable, battle-tested and peace-loving, seeking and present. That's wholeness. That's what we're all moving toward, whether we know it or not. The wild horse teaches you about authenticity, about refusing to be tamed by false expectations, about living true to your nature. The war horse teaches you about strength, about resilience, about what you're capable of surviving, and how struggle can forge you into something unbreakable. The white horse teaches you about meaning, about the sacred, about the search for truth that gives life purpose beyond mere survival. You need all three. The wildness to be authentic, the warrior's strength to protect what matters, the seeker's wisdom to know what matters. If you only have wildness without strength, you'll be authentic but unable to defend your authenticity when it's threatened. If you only have strength without wildness, you'll be powerful but disconnected from what makes you you. If you only have seeking without the other two, you'll find meaning but lack the strength to live it and the wildness to express it. Jung believed that life is a constant process of bringing the unconscious into consciousness, of recognizing the different archetypes within us and learning to work with them rather than being controlled by them. The horse you chose today shows you which archetype is active in your unconscious right now. But awareness is the first step. Now that you see it, you can work with it consciously. You can honor it, learn from it, integrate its wisdom, and evolve it to its highest expression. So I invite you to reflect. Which horse called to you? Was it the wild horse and its message of untamed authenticity? Was it the war horse and its hard-won strength? Was it the white horse and its sacred seeking? And more importantly, what is this horse trying to teach you right now? What aspect of yourself is calling for recognition? What energy wants to be honored and expressed in your life? Comment below which horse you chose. Tell me if the description resonated with you. Tell me what you're learning about yourself. Tell me how you're going to work with this archetypal energy. Because that's how we grow, not by learning about these patterns in abstract, but by recognizing them in ourselves and consciously choosing how to embody them. If this exploration spoke to something deep within you, if you felt seen by your horse's description, then I invite you to support this journey we're taking together. Leave a like so more people can find this work. Subscribe to continue exploring the mysteries of the psyche, the wisdom of Carl Jung, and the archetypal patterns that shape our lives. And share this with someone who's on their own journey of self-discovery. Sometimes a message someone needs comes through the simplest invitation. Which horse calls to you? Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for having the courage to look at yourself honestly, to see which archetype is active in your life, to recognize the patterns that have been unconsciously guiding you. The path of individuation, the journey toward wholeness. It's the most important work any of us can do, and we're walking it together, one insight at a time, one symbol at a time, one moment of recognition at a time. The horse you chose knows who you are. The question is, do you? And are you brave enough to become it fully? To ride that horse wherever it's meant to carry you? That's the invitation. That's the call. Which horse will you answer?